Hi, guys. Welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy. Sarah Boone. Sarah Boone. Sarah Boone, who was recently sentenced to life in prison for the murder of her boyfriend, Jorge Torres, has penned a new 28-page letter to the judge. In this letter, she says she didn't lose the case and accuses him of bias and continues to insist that she is the real victim here. Boone was found guilty of zipping her boyfriend into a suitcase, causing him to suffocate, and then had the audacity to beg for leniency during the sentencing last week. It seems Sarah just can't let go of her fleeting moment of fame. But alas, it appears to be slipping through her fingers. So join us on day 12 of Livemas, where we bring you a new live event every day leading up to Christmas. As we delve into this ridiculous saga, case. I'm going to roll some credits while we wait for the rest of the replay crew to roll in. Shout out to my replay crew. I hope you're enjoying Livemas so far. Please welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy.
Cavalier's drumming his old guitar again. Words rolling out into our fire. If heaven had wings, I would steal them and fly away with you for a while. Hearing the essence of gratitude, your dreamy little smile on my lips. I miss my cue, but baby, I had you. Miss my cue, but I had you for that day. Here in the blue, I'm falling deep into you. Yeah.
Sarah Boone is known for her shining letters, but tonight's masterpiece truly takes the cake. For those that may not remember Sarah Boone, she is the infamous Florida woman who thought it would be a fun idea to zip her boyfriend up in a game of hide and seek. However, her idea of fun quickly turned into a nightmare.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
You.
Sarah.
She refused to let him out. To top it off, she decided to film herself mocking him while he was trapped, slurring her words in a drunken stupor. Unsurprisingly, Sarah then proceeded to pass out, only to wake up the next morning and discover her boyfriend no longer among the living. So that is who we will be talking about today. Sarah Boone, like I said, is known for her letters. She has penned numerous letters to the judges, both Wooten and Kranick. Kranick was the one that, because this was a 5-year case where she sat in the jail dragging her feet with this for a 5-year case. So, but Sarah Boone has another letter. And so I thought that we would go ahead and read that letter. We talked about Sarah yesterday, and we showed a video of Sarah when she was 18 years old. She was on a Nickelodeon show. I talked about her past arrest, where there was a time where the police came out and where they were both arrested, both Sarah and George. And so at the end of this live, I'm going to tack that video on so that you can take a peek at that. So let me get my screen all together and we'll get going. Be sure to give this live a thumbs up, guys. Helps me dance out into the algorithm. Party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help me out, and it's really, really appreciated. Today, we're coming to you on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So, hi, everyone. Sarah Boone, convicted murderer, sends 28-page letter to judge. I am not a murderer. Sarah Boone, the Florida woman sentenced to life in prison for the murder of her boyfriend, has written a 28-page screed to the judge. It is particularly what she read in court. It is partially, what she read in court during her sentencing hearing, in case he didn't hear her the first time. I am not a murderer. I am a survivor, she says. During the December, we will share everything. Ouch! I gotta let the baby bird in the room. Actually, I wanted to lock him out so I could do that intro. Hold on one second. So during our live miss, when we come live during the day, there is a baby bird that flies around here. If you hear a voice in the background, it's him. Can't do anything about it. He lives in the house and he talks. So we do lives at night. This isn't our only time. On Sunday, Wednesday, and Fridays, we come on after he goes to bed, and we do lives then. So if you want to catch us then, if you can't stand the voice, totally understand it, want to bow out, catch us then. Would love to have you back then. Hold on one second, though. I got to let him in. I've been back on this journey of eating low carb, and I have autoimmune issues, and I have found that eating low carb really has taken a lot of my pain down for me. And yesterday I had an upset stomach, so I ate carbs, and today I'm in so much pain. And I'm so migraines are back too, so blah. Okay. Let me pull it back up. Sarah Boone was sentenced to life in prison after a jury convicted her. Oh, and I was about to say that everything that we watch, I will put down in the YouTube show notes. I often won't read everything, or I won't play everything in its entirety. I speed it up, I slow it down, do all these things, and I do it for fair play use, but we always cite our sources in the YouTube show notes. Sarah Boone was sentenced to life in prison after a jury convicted her unanimously of second-degree murder and the death of her boyfriend, who was zipped inside a suitcase, taunted, and left inside until he suffocated. During her December sentencing hearing, Boone took the stand and delivered a 20-minute screed against the judicial process. Allegations of abuse against her boyfriend, the man she was convicted of unaliving, Jorge Torres, or it's often George Torres, the internet, the press, and others. You can watch her testimony. We have her testimony in the Sarah Boone playlist, and we also have a playlist about crazy Florida woman crimes, and that'll be down in the YouTube show notes as well. Hi, Irene. How are you? This poor man was way too handsome to be treated that way. I think Sarah knew she had somebody that was above her. What is it called when her status, above her status? You think? Okay. Before taking the stand, Boone noted that her statement was a shortened version. On December 6th, Boone sent a 28-page handwritten letter to Judge Michael Kranick, which was uploaded to her court file on December 11th. And we have the letter right here that we're going to take a look at and read. And it's dated December 6th, 2024. And Sarah Boone is like the only case that I think I've ever watched where she was offered 15 years, turned it down, and then got life. And in Florida, life is life. It's not life after 50 years, not life after 20 years. Life is life. So she's in there for life. Sarah Boone talked herself into life. She's a genius. December 6th, 2024, Mr. Michael Kranick. I am in closing, please, hold on. I am in closing, please, my complete statement to you and the world. She's very preoccupied what the world is saying about her. As I particularly read during my sentencing hearing, and also I have a hard time reading her handwriting, so this might not be the most smooth. By my reserving particular parts of my very true and meaningful statement, I was hoping to have been graced with your forgiveness, understanding, and consideration in any level or degree. After the ride she took that court system on for 5 years, offering her 15 years, I mean, that was like a sweet deal that she shouldn't even gotten 15 years, although 15 years seems about right for what Sarah's done. I would say maybe like 20. I don't think she did it on purpose. There's some people that believe she did it on purpose, and I don't think she did it on purpose. I think she passed out, but you still have to take responsibility for what you do while you're drinking. For me, unfortunately, and regardless of where I had forgiveness, understanding, and consideration in any level or degree, for me, unfortunately, and regardless of what I had speak on my behalf, or the number of your ignorant mind was already made up, or the number of your ignorant mind was made up. I don't know what that means, but I get that she's saying his mind was already made up. By your clear error and full-blown unfair bias against me since your involvement in, but there was another letter that we read where he was her savior. This judge was her savior to her case. By your clear error and full-blown unfair bias against me since your involvement in my crucible case as a whole, I have been unsuccessful in receiving anything from you as a supposed fair and neutral judge, except for your wish that I spend the rest of my life in prison. Please know and always remember, Mr. Kranick. I love how she's calling him Mr. Kranick instead of Judge Kranick. I forgive you. Oh, she forgives him. Aw. I think she's trying to take a page from George's family, because everyone was like, Sarah Boone's a complete bitch on the stand. And then his mom gets up and it's like, I forgive you, Sarah. Still and sincerely, please understand also the judge, according to Cicero, is never to cast sight that he is simply a man, lose sight that he is simply a man, and that he cannot accede to power given to him by his commission, that not only power but public confidence has been given to him, that he ought always very seriously to attend not to his wishes but to the requisitions of law, of justice, and religion. I don't know what that is underneath it. I'm excited in my appeal, which speaks for itself. My case law as well, in which I am extremely proud to have achieved and will continue doing So now that I am no longer in your corrupt court and free from your malevolent judicial grip. Sarah Boone versus the state of Florida. So I guess she has a few things to say. What another woman is capable of. Thanks. Oh, you have the flu? Oh, sorry. But you're still a dragonfly. Oh, Ian Clark. That's my ex-husband's name. Interesting. I am assuming you are not him. Okay, so let's go back into it. Sarah Boone versus State of Florida. I also have added to my statements as a result of your blindness and your impartiality. For most, your disgust is in me as being an outspoken woman, determined defendant, and proactive client, hoping the next time you put on your listening ears and do not unfairly oppress the next as you have so blatantly done me. You know, like this whole letter thing is just so like, just this is the last moment of people paying attention to her. And I think she gets it. You will never admit your many judicial errors, nor will the prosecutors theirs. And I will never admit to what you have wrongfully accused me of and judged me as. Well, okay. I am not a murderer. I am a survivor. Sarah Boone. Black robe disease, arrogance in a judge, a slang term for a judge who something judicial power and dominates proceedings at the expense of the dispensation of justice. In practicality, impartiality is the first duty of a judge before he gives an opinion or sits in judgment in a course. He ought to be certain and abusive that he has no bias for or against either the parties. If he has any inherent, even the slightest in the case, he is disqualified from sitting as a judge, and when aware of such interests, ought to lawfully and justly refuse to sit on a case. The delicacy which characterizes the judges in their, I don't know, something generally forbids their sitting in such a case. So what is he being, what would cause him to not sit on your case, Sarah? You're just some Joe Schmo, some annoying Karen from off the street that's done something really horrendous. And what really would prevent him from sitting on your case? The judge must not only be impartial, but must also follow and properly enforce the law, not abuse. He is bound to declare what law is and not make it to be not an arbitrator, but an interpreter of the law. It is the duty to be patient in the interest investigation of the case, understand circumstances and difficult by all parties, careful in considering parts of a case in whole, and decent in judgment. She's citing some kind of case law, I think. I don't know. But at the something risk of practicing judicial sentenciation, a word I have coined in this presentation. Others have called it black robe disease. Whether he has correct or not in my behavior, it is widely accepted that judicial behavior affects the jury. And then there is the worst of judicial ailments, the black robe disease, which is otherwise known as arrogance. Sarah has that disease and she's not even a judge. Lynn, someone, a practical guide to becoming an educational genius. I don't know. Trial judges are affirmatively charged with securing a fair trial and must interview such spokes to that end when necessary. Brown v. Walker. That duty encompasses not only the avoidance of error before it occurs, but the fair correction of error that may have occurred earlier in a proceeding. Another source that she's citing there. In the instant case, the trial judge did not analyze the evidence he added to it, dealing with a mere, I don't know, a more something of the accused in giving his testimony. The judge put his own experience with all the weight that could be attached to it in the scale against the accused. I don't know what she's talking about. She did talk about this. This is part of her closing or her statement. I don't know, what do you call her harassment towards the against the state of Florida. I don't know, but she's talking about some Japanese ceramic style, which means to repair with gold in their addition. When a ceramic piece breaks, an artisan will fuse the pieces back together again using liquid gold or gold dust lacquer. So rather than being covered up, the breaks become more obvious and a brilliant new piece of art emerges from the brokenness. It embraces flaws, weaknesses, and imperfections, and also teaches the essence of resilience. Every crack in a ceramic piece is part of its history, and each piece becomes more beautiful because it has been broken. This is the wisdom of this Japanese artwork. In my wisdom and with all my repairs then, now, and ongoing, God has been, I think it's so interesting that she's now into God. God has been and will always be my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This jar held me together, made me the brighter and overcome the damage caused by Jorge Torres, the Torres family, the justice system, Judge Wooten and Cranick, Orange County Corrections Department, social media, something, scoundrel detectives, infamy, defamation, ongoing constitutional right violations, second degree, under forced into being pro se. Just as gold is very precious, forgiveness is invaluable. Sleep because I had to go to work, or my don't field this trip the next day, for ruining my deceived family's heirloom. Wait, what is this? I wonder if this is out of order or something. Yeah, it is. Forgiveness is an attempt to change or forget who or what, how you've lived through to be gold, but an act of grace. Well, this was all in her closing statement. So we're going to just go forward. From George beating me like all the times their father beat their mother. Oh, wait, no, we got to go back up. Yeah. For all the drunken rages and fist. No, it's up here. I forgot. It's out of order. My gold begins with George Torres and everything. He slapped me. He kicked me. He punched me. He spit on. He raped. Okay, we're going to skip through this, but she said he terrorized her and he did a whole bunch of other stuff to her. And then she says, I forgive George for beating me senseless, for stabbing me in the leg and not letting me call 911, for all the abuse, for destroying my phone, for getting her arrested, for beating her, dragging her down the stairs, for taking her car driving drunk with her credit card. These are all the things that she listed in her closing, for causing her so much trauma, for destroying her reputation. And she says she forgives him. She also forgives the Torres family, his mother and father foremost, also his 2 ex-wives and daughters, for all knowing who George was capable of and has done in the past, his history of violence, and when he learned where he learned it, then to keep turning a blind eye. All of his siblings, including formers who now are in prison for puncturing the mother of their baby. She forgives them for caring too late. I don't think they give a shit about you, Sarah. In fact, I think they're pretty relieved that you're going to be like bye-bye. I even think Brian is relieved that you're going to be bye-bye. And, you know, dare I say it, it's a good thing that your son won't be seeing you. I hope they all ask forgiveness while quiet and comfortable in bed at night. The uneasy question, what could I have done to stop this from happening to both of them? And after all the times Sarah tried to by asking for help from all of us, and so many times. Hi, Tony. Good afternoon. Just popping back here to make sure that audio is good and we're all good. Okay. Social media has made me a pariah. It has caused great oppression and undeniable disadvantages, especially by broadcasting and manipulating my case online. In my criminal case, as a result, my opportunities to be given a fair, proper, and uninfluenced, successful conclusion was heavily depleted and poisoned. I forgive them. Also, it's so good to be forgiven by Sarah Boone. Also, the media and tycoons for not having a life of their own, trying so desperately to make themselves seem so right by making me appear so wrong. Forgiveness. Forgiveness seems so right by making me appear so wrong. Forgiveness for prejudice, ridiculous theatrics, lies, making and taking blood money from my and other misfortunates accidents and catastrophe. It's all over their hands and keyboards. I love it when people are like, yeah, fine, if you can live with it, if your conscience can live with it, yeah, it can. I'm perfectly fine. So thank you for your forgiveness. Next. And even after all that been said and done, theorized, hypothesized, scrutinized, and blasphemed in my case, still no one knows me. My God also runs deep for my, is it my gold or my God? I don't know. Take your pick. Also runs deep for my prior attorneys. It's somebody's name who sold me the world with empty promises, then abandoned his responsibilities as my attorney after the 2.5 years of my life, then finally realizing he was in over his head, all while holding jar dollars to fund his stay with his family when in town from Miami. Wait, what is this? One finally realized he was in over his head, all while hoarding. Is this the guy that came in? No, this wasn't the one that ultimately defended her. Oh, no, the other one, he lived in Panama City. Okay, so he flew down instead of up. Okay, got it. Okay, not allowing me, the client, to ever utilize, which could have greatly progressed my case and perhaps concluded only for him to decide what's water parks, fine dining, and choice hotels were more important and on the JAC's dime. How does she know he went to all these places? I forgive Frank Bankowitz for committing perjury to the judge and on court record about my attempts to be proactive defendant and client in inquiring about my discoveries, then trying to communicate with something or correspondence and any something for a full year and 2 months before I was able to finally meet with him in the courtroom. Also to receive his visitation to withdraw. Frank Bankowitz is forgiven for his greed in taking $15,000 from her, who honorably aid for her. Winston E. Hobson received my forgiveness, who also unethically perjured himself to the judge and on court record about all the progress and attorney work he did in my case for the 2 months he was court appointed. As for his allegations of my supposed unethical requests, which meant me asking about my discovery and trying to have him file a motion for my lawful inclusion to my pretrial conferences under the discovery rules, I wanted to be included in my case, and no progress from being included by Bankowitz and Padella over 3 years prior forgiveness. Also, in telling me he would return in a week with my discovery, only to receive his written to withdraw in the meanwhile, still not receiving my discovery, and I am filing my own motion enabling me to go to my hearing, including my pretrials. Continued forgiveness and his greed and selfish intentions, also for robbing the JAC and indigent defendants of $15,000 more for a nothing justifying and work he really did do in the heartful handful of days he represented me as my attorney. Finally, he's been screaming all day long. He's on my nerves. Hold on. And finally, and he woke up at 4 this morning. He's been screaming like it's been a rough day. And finally, with my finally, and with all my gold received from this one, I forgive Patricia Cashman for her mean, snotty, emotional attitude and not listening or caring that I finally received my discovery. I kept asking for her, which truthfully withheld from me, citing her ridiculous. I think it's so funny how she gets really down and dirty with this one. This female, and she's crying that she's a woman. Yet anyway, 4-year prison. And while she's being my present at the time attorney, I saw not one page of or any digital evidence of my discovery that prohibited me from seeing. Patricia Cashman is also forgiven for admitting I had a right to a bond I asked for. Yeah, this yesterday it was asked why she didn't get a bond hearing, and I knew there was something up with the bond hearing. I had a right to a bond I asked her for, so I could actually utilize one of my rights opposed to having something always violated as a person and still ongoing prisoner and still ongoing. Then her deference of all my opportunities to, I don't know what that is, for all her lies, condemnation, gross, unnecessary arguments, and anger that I asked any questions and wanted to understand, for her doing nothing other than give me an even harder time and request transcripts than something lie for over 16,000. Oh, she went for 16,000 for doing so. Also from the prosecutor, resources provided from the JAC. I forgive Patricia Cashman for being a liar and a bully. Forgiveness for all those she did not include me to receive my 15,000. Then I worked for when Judge Kranick forced me to be my own attorney to represent myself as pro se. I actually and finally got my own discovery almost 5 years later. Filed motions, all prior should have done, making them the most expensive motions at over $46,000 between the 3 prior attorneys, Frank Bankowitz, Walter Hobson, Patricia Cashman. Would they have done so when supposedly representing me? The motion would have been priceless for the proper use of the JAC funds, forward ethics, professionalism, honesty, and freedom. I honestly utilized my JAC resources and mentorship as a proactive indigent defendant, avidly defending myself against the liars, thieves, and real villains in my criminal case. Who really is the criminal? The JAC can hopefully include their forgiveness for them also. Here's the thing, our court systems suck. They really do suck. And I'm sure some of this did happen to Sarah Boone, but Sarah Boone brought most of this on herself. Judge Wooten and Kranick, I have great forgiveness for you also, and not protecting me and listening to my valid request for judicial intervention so I could properly and fairly defend myself against my charges. Instead, I had to defend myself against the attorneys. When it's you against the world, you might have to start looking at yourself and saying, what is wrong with you that you're against the world? Like, why is the world against you? And why are you against the world? Judge and court, to my valid request for judicial intervention so I could instead I had to defend myself against the attorneys. Judge Kranek, I forgive you for not giving me any opportunity to stand at your pulpit, to stand at all, to explain the real truthful side of the story. I believe if the justice system, including yourself, would and should have done any ritual homework on the already almost see-through attorneys from being spread so thin and simply sending an email to care about their present whereabouts. Number of clients' trial schedules already in place before throwing another inmate defendant unknown client on the heaping unimportant pile of warm bodies. More taxpayer dollars could be covered and less time consumed, and something for everyone, regardless of what part they play in the supposed system of justice. My forgiveness is dependent for taking even greater time of mine away, years, by not caring to ask anything about anything to understand so you could fully render your life deferring judgments and withhold any bias and prejudice. Foremost, Judge Kranek, I forgive you for kicking me when I was down and choking the life out of my... Oh, how amazing that she's talking about choking the life out of somebody. Right to free speech and being my own advocate, since no one else would be, and received a paycheck for. And all of my free speech experience driven letters only for remedy. In any collaboration, inclusion, receiving my discovery as an inmate, defendant, and client, not refusal of only attorneys to cause more delays or any reason or excessive you may try to force on me and have already inappropriately accused me of doing prior with your heavily insinuated statements of mine to try and deflect the glaring red flags, disappointments, and true crime in the justice system. It's just like I'm reading words. Like I'm not even picking up sentences here. She is just rambling on and on and on. It's just like one long ramble. To this day and all forward, I do not forfeit my rights, any of them ever, especially my right to be bold, old, and outspoken, and fight in my real life experience when the legal and justice system. You weren't there, Judge Kranek, in anything, no meetings, phone calls, visits, and still took my rights and opposed harder. I must now defend myself against you, praying you do not care to lose as all the others and validate further against me as a still proud citizen of the United States, of America, and freely, excitedly using my God-given rights to still try and defend myself, to stand all the way up for me to remove my freedom altogether by assuring and appearing my stab wounds, bloody body parts, grapes, burn, bruises, and all the rest of the beatings I endured. I hope you can finally see and understand just some of the pain from the extreme difficulties, obstacles, and unfairness, especially in my due process you have added in my criminal case, and as a inmate, defendant, and client, all is forgiven. Whew. Well, as long as it's all forgiven, Sarah is like the bravest little trucker that I have ever met. She's just trucking forward, and she's just using that forgiveness muscle. She's so good at it. We should all learn from Sarah Boone. For the detectives, I forgive their demonization, lies, backstabbing, coercion, law breaking, socialization of my case before I even something at corrections department to be booked and fingerprinted. This can be seen in my unbelievable interrogation video where I ask what they are doing. What are all the pingings? I don't know. Was diet directing their texts while I sit there waiting to be arrested, which they know would happen the day before. She bold-faced lied to her on the stand, to the judge and court on record. She didn't tell me to come to the station to pick up my phone. Why else would I go? I didn't even know about the surprise interrogation. I forgive them for also lying how the news showed up to record my walk of shame, handcuffed and confused on camera. I forgive them for trying to make me case from the beginning by stating the unquenchable wildfire of sanitization. I don't know. And distortion, ignorant, have defamation and greed by unlawfully broadcasting who they wanted the world to think I was by their schemes, learn lessons and fraudulent strategies from the school of manipulation and taking advantage. How much did they make off of me and still are for calling it in, then revisiting his I don't know what that is. They're personally twisted. I'm guessing she's asking how much money did they make? I don't know. Also, my forgiveness and greatness, greater gold opens from wondering why nothing viable in my defense taken from my her handwriting is getting worse. AKA the I don't know what that is, to aid in my truth, such as the butcher knife, 5-prong garden claw, or hammer under the table together outside where George had easy access for use if I tried to leave or call for help while being held against my will. During his rageful binger on my bloody pillowcase stained from me being blackened, and because I hid the magnum-sized bottle of vodka from him. Why weren't any photos taken of holes punched in walls and doors, some doors missing knobs and all locks, storage, removed cracked windows, broken furnaces, obvious unnatural destruction in my townhouse? How and why were they missed, uncared about, or not questioned so I could explain those? It makes no difference. All is forgiven. Well, thank God it's all forgiven. If it makes no difference, why am I even reading it if it makes no difference, if it's all forgiven? Prosecutor Mr. J and Mr. Caricature, my forgiveness is also extended for your inappropriate attributed motives for having to go through years of my picture, videos, texts to erroneously piece together your deceitful, damning version of what really happened and who I am. After so much availability and for so long, you were finally able to make the circle into a square. I forgive your antics, the theatrics, comments to make sure the world got their money's worth while watching with ignorant pitchforks and burning torches, hoping for the best from you, which is my worst. Instead of dropping the mic, Mr. J, you dropped the bat. Well, you know what? You were really winding up for that home run there, and that just fell flat, Sarah Boone. That was just like, I'm winding her up. Boom. Fell flat. For the yelling, finger pointing, and intense something to force your theatrics and fanatics on the jury, but using but not. And all of your pieced together production, I forgave you most for never seeing the light in people, their goodness, humor, and big hearts. You wake up to see out the opposite, to condemn, to talk, to take lives in your own way. See the good that does exist in all of us, extreme and unforced, even as the proud Mr. J stated. Hold on. Okay. See the good that does exist in all of us inherently and unforced, even as the proud Mr. J stated, the kicked dog that bites. Mr. J, who kicked the dog in the first place. In my wisdom, it's usually best to leave sleeping dogs lie, then they don't bite. Oh, Sarah Boone, look at her. She's giving advice now, too. My gold goes out, but to the jury for not understanding my cracks from being blinded from the injustice and malpractice in all the judicial and pro se, the very apparent violations of my Constitution rights during my case and entire trial, which caused mass confusion and dysfunction. I forgive the jury truly for being weary from this confusion and dysfunction, also from being hungry and tired and wanting to go home to their families after being away from in full capacity for 2 full weeks. I understand. From this and their brash misguided computer decisions. I was wrongfully judged a murderer instead of a survivor. For this, all is forgiven. For this, I can still survive and stand tall, having even greater the greatest opportunity to finally be understood in the superior court of my appeal. I didn't lose. God just wanted me to win in a different way. Freedom and forgiveness. In the end, I forgive myself for not choosing my life sooner, for not being more brave, vigilant, bolder, and outspoken, stronger mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, for being hopeless, defensive, simple-minded, weak, and inexperienced. I forgive myself for not realizing I was enduring a life of domestic violence and that the violence cycle of never ends. I had nothing to compare to. I've never been hit by a man ever before in my life. I was raised hitting a woman was wrong, and I should never, and it should never happen. No excuses. I forgive myself for not escaping permanently, for not fighting back sooner to save myself, my son, my dogs, home, and car. Having 2020 hindsight, thinking of everything I could have done differently or better to avoid the outcome. I think about this every day since, also of all the good days we had together, for him at least, while I was constantly in hyperdrive, high alert, and paranoid, making sure I did everything right all the time. I knew it not the great possibility I would be ended as George threatened me with so many times before. I forgive myself for falling in love with a monster, and no matter how grotesque he may become, I still loved, hoped, and forgave. I tried breaking the spell so he wouldn't be a monster anymore. I saw who he was inside. George made me then know now and always love him for all of his cracks. Also, we made each other our own brilliant pieces of art from the cracks and repairs. Unfortunately, not all cracks can be. And all of my forgiveness, George is my greatest lesson and will forever be a part of me. I think every day and still speak to him. When I first came to jail, I put my mail under my bed and cried all day and all night for months, only falling asleep from being so exhausted with grief. I wrote him letters. I wrote his family and his daughter, apologized and asking for their forgiveness, but due to fear that my life or something to be jeopardized, I did not send. I am sorry. I cannot begin to fathom any of their grief and sadness. Forgive me. Almost everything reminds me of him. Seeing my stab wound every day, especially, it truly reminds me all I really did go through. George, George is everywhere. I believe because do still love him, think of him, and laugh, miss his laugh the most in my heart. I know he is with me and understands that this tragedy was all unintentional. I hope everyone can, his family foremost. I didn't mean for this to happen. Please wholeheartedly know that, and always, I would never. Forgive me, George. Forgive me, Torres family. Forgive me, Judge Kranick. To the entire planet, forgive me. I graciously and ask for consideration for forgiveness to be extended instead of judgment, for reconciliation and restoration for all of us. to move forward. I mean, you can be forgiven, my friend. You're staying in prison for the rest of your life. I mean, yeah. Forgive and forget. How about that? How about if we forgive you and then we forget you? How about that? Actually, nobody's forgiving you. I mean, except Jorge's mom. I mean, she forgave you. Maybe that's all you need, but you haven't been in prison enough for your cracks to be made beautiful. You're still just one big crack. My apology is profuse and ceaseless. Allow me, please, to brush all the wipe the blood off my face and fix the cuts in my skin. I ask for understanding and what really happened and for how long, for second chances and redemption, to advocate for all domestic violence survivors, to help them overcome, heal, instill hope, always to make their voices heard, to confidentially walk with all of their scars, walk with all their scars on the outside and inside, to help them not ever become a casualty of domestic violence as so many others, to stop the abuse and treatment before it's too late. There's always hope. You can survive. In my soft-spoken conclusion, which, when has Sarah Boone ever been soft-spoken? I ask this: would I be the darling mother, celebrated woman of the year if I were to have died? How many daughters, mothers, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, nieces, and friends have been because they did? I am a survivor. Learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke the oppressor, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow, Isaiah 117, all encompassing protect the abused. Sarah Boone. And she wrote this on 12/2/24. Yikes. Do you think this will be her last letter? Do you hope it's her last letter? I don't know. I don't think it's going to be our last letter, but I do hope it was. It would be nice if it was our last one, but I don't think it will be. And I don't know what'll happen once she goes to prison, if we're still going to get any letters, because I know, like, the reason we get so much in the Florida state, like there's the Florida woman, the Florida man, it's because of the sunshine state laws, and that means that everything they get sent, they have to publish. So it's not anything that Florida wants to do. It's the law. Okay, guys, I think that's all I'm going to do for today. Make sure to give us a thumbs up. Be sure to share our content. Hi, Sam. I missed you. Hi, Sam R. Padilla. Oh, Padillo she's talking about. Yeah, I have a hard time reading her handwriting. So she'll have more complaints. Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, that's true. We're going to see all her appeal stuff too, probably. But I don't know, once she goes to the prison, are we going to get her? Because once she leaves the Orange County system and goes into whatever, the Florida state system, I just wonder if we're going to get it, if we'll still get her letters. Okay, guys, I'm going to go. I am going to tack on the end of this Sarah Boone and Jorge's arrest. This was when they both were arrested together. So, yeah, be sure to give this live a thumbs up. Helps us dance out into the algorithm. Party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help us out. It's really, really appreciated. If nobody's told you this today, and even if they have, I'm still going to tell you this. I love you guys so, so much. And I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. So we're going to go and watch that. This is Parawomenradio, and I'm Amy. So glad to be here with you. On July 25th, 2018 at 10, what was that? Is that 12 at 1:52? And then it's the address. References a male kicked a female in the eye. I later determined that to be an exaggerated and aggravated battery by strangulation and battery case, both being dating violence. Upon my arrival, I spoke to Sarah Catherine Boone, defendant / victim. Sarah verbally stated she was at an unknown bar earlier in the evening when she asked an unknown male for a cigarette. Her boyfriend, Jorge Torres Jr., defendant number 2 / victim of 1.5 years. And she makes sure to say it's a year and a half, not just a year, 1 year and a half, because became upset since she was talking to another male and left the bar. They both went back to their residence located at 4748 France Lane and continued verbally arguing. Sarah was dragged upstairs by Jorge and she was kicked her in the right eye using his right heel. Sarah was unable to describe how she fell to the ground and or how she was dragged upstairs by Jorge. Sarah refused medical treatment. Sarah refused to write a statement and or sign any dating violence paperwork. After I spoke to Sarah, I spoke to Jorge. Jorge verbally stated they were both at their residence, verbally arguing, and have been consuming alcohol. They have been dating for 1.5 years and residing together for 1 to 2 years. Jorge attempted to go upstairs to avoid Sarah. While Jorge was walking upstairs, Sarah reached towards Jorge's throat using both of her hands. Sarah placed both of her hands around Jorge's throat and applied pressure to the extent that Jorge was having difficult time breathing. Jorge was sitting on the steps and started kicking towards Sarah to attempt to get her off of him. Jorge believes he might have kicked Sarah in her face, but was not sure. Jorge believed that if he did not kick Sarah off of him, she would have made him incapacitated due to being strangled. Jorge refused medical treatment. Jorge also refused to write a statement and or sign any dating violence paperwork. Both Sarah and Jorge stated that they have been dating for approximately 1 year and 6 months and residing together for approximately 1 year and 2 months. The left side of Jorge's neck had red marks and small abrasions that is consistent with being strangled. Sarah's right eye is bruised and swollen from receiving an impact. Both Sarah and Jorge allowed Diaz Ramirez to take pictures of their injuries. Diaz Ramirez later uploaded the pictures and Jorge received the victim's right booklet. Due to conflicting statements and injuries on both Sarah and Jorge, I was unable to determine who the primary aggressor was. I placed both Jorge and Sarah under lawful arrest and search. Jorge was placed into the back seat of the patrol car and Sarah was placed into the back seat of Diaz Ramirez's patrol car. I informed both Sarah and Jorge the charges that are being placed against them, which they stated they understand. Due to us both parties refusing to write statements and or signing any domestic violence documents, I was unable to complete a victim request or confidentiality form, authorization for release of confidential information form, and written statements. Both parties stated they don't want to testify and or prosecute against each other. Both Sarah and Jorge, which his name is George, but in here it's Jorge. Well, he goes by George, was transported to the Orange County Booking and Receiving Center. Jorge was booked and charged for battery, dating violence, and Sarah was booked and charged for aggravated battery by strangulation, dating violence. Both Sarah and Jorge stated they do not own any firearms. My body camera was activated. And in the end, the prosecutor decided not to press charges on either Sarah or George. Like and subscribe for more Parawomen Radio. And if you're not subscribed, why are you not subscribed? I would really, really, really love to have you as a power subscriber. If you really like my content, be sure to become a dragonfly, and that's our membership, and it's $2.99 a month. I release all my videos early. We have special emojis over in the chat room. I kind of share things ahead of time with my dragonflies, and I go live sometimes just for the dragonflies. It's a way that I can support you guys and give you more content, and it's a way for you to support our channel. It's $2.99 a month, and I would love to have you. Hi guys, welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy.
Carefully strumming this old guitar, words rolling out into the fire. Never ask why my heart burned blue. Here in the haze where you inspire me. Here in the darkness I hear my cue. Time to find some solitude. Here where my soul bleeds openly, deep in the heart of sin and you. Here in the blue, I'm falling deep into you. Here in the blue, I'm dancing with you tonight, and it feels fine. Carefully strumming this old guitar again, words rolling out into